It's time to start Dishin Days with your hosts Tony Moore, Michael Mattis, Justin Lee Hareld, and Araceli Aviles. And now, let's dish. Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Dishin Days, where we serve up a full dish of this week's episodes of Peacock's exclusive #1 award-winning hit soap opera, Days of Our Lives. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. We are Dishin Days Show on Facebook, Dishin Days on Instagram, X, which is formerly Twitter, and Threads. Also, make sure you follow us or subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. If you are watching us live and in living color and you haven't, go ahead and click that subscribe button and hit that bell notification. That way you'll never miss when we're going live. And if you're listening to us on our podcast station, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So take us along on that treadmill while you're riding the bike, while you're taking a hike, or while you're sitting in traffic. You can listen to all things Salem right near you. Also, make sure you buy our merch. You can purchase one of these lovely ones, our Meliswin Possess Dishin Days logo, or serving up a full dish. Let everyone know that you are a fan of Dishin Days and you love to dish yourself. Head on over to dishindays.threadless.com and buy your merch today. Also, make sure you show some love to our former co-host and my chocolate twin, James Lott Jr., who is serving up a little dish of his own. You can get your full fix of all other soap operas such as Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful, and General Hospital, as well as some original audio dramas brought to you by JLJ Media. So find him on YouTube, JLJ Media, and tell him that Dishin Days sent you. Well, happy Labor Day weekend, everybody.
Hey.
Or as I like to
Labor
call
Day.
it, Beyonce weekend.
Yes.
Or as I like to call it, happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
When,
not
yeah,
yet,
today?
but
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
it is Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Oh, it's Tuesday. Okay.
It's Tuesday.
Happy
We
Tuesday
started
birthday.
early.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday from all of us to you. Happy birthday. We hope you have fun too.
Thank you.
Araceli will be finally old enough to drink what's actually been in her cup this whole entire time.
It's hot tea today. Some of us didn't go to Beyonce, but we still have to recover from the last few days.
And let me tell you, those of us who have been to Beyonce, me and Justin, are still recovering, and probably Justin more than me.
Exhausted, yes.
Just being there exhausts you, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Mattis, you will have the same feeling when you go to Madonna.
Oh, yes.
In March of 2024.
Hey, at least you're going.
Yes.
As of
Like,
now,
a week off,
in case she just,
Michael.
in case she almost dies again. Unless she almost dies again.
Oh, well, we go.
And-
I'm gonna say a prayer for her. Oh, and quick shout out to Julie Dove, who
Yes.
I got to go to the concert with. You all know her as Connie from Days of Our Lives. You will also now know her as the winner of the Tony Moore Need to Get Rid of My Tickets to Beyonce raffle. Her and her friend were a hoot to be with during the experience. So shout out to Julie
She's
Dove.
really having a great year, isn't
Yeah,
it?
Julie's
Julie
winning.
Dove.
Yeah.
Play the lottery or something.
Let me tell you something. She has made dreams come true.
Hey, Julie.
She's been in Soap Opera Digest. She got to wave to Beyonce. Like she is over there just living her life, honey.
Good for her.
So, and now on to some important things. What did we think of this week's episodes of Days? Oh, not all y'all being quiet.
Well, it was a little all over the place.
It was all over the It was all over the place. It was info weekish.
Yeah. Like I enjoyed it.
There was movement, but I feel like there wasn't a lot of movement.
Not consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Was I the only one thinking this week, like, child, when is his funeral?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I thought it was.
I guess
thought
they
it
have
was-
to get everybody back and
Yes.
take a minute, but
Yeah, I thought
Sorry,
it was
Justin, what?
kind of similar to last week. Like there was so much going on. Like I feel like they're hitting every single storyline, which sometimes is good and like the pacing and stuff. But I don't know. It's like too little of everything as opposed to focusing on like one or two things maybe or one or two plot.
You hit the nail on. I was thinking that exact same thing. I'm like, there's just so many people, so many characters, so much going on, and there's like such scattered focus throughout the week. But
yes, and if you were paying attention to, if you were one of those people who was up at 6 a.m. like me on Monday, you got a little bit of a surprise.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
surprise! You got an episode a week early.
Someone done messed up.
Surprise, surprise!
Yes. The little bit of a snafu. I'm not sure what happened, but yes, there. This coming Monday's episode was uploaded accidentally a week early, so people don't know what was going on. And then not only was like a whole episode spoiled, a whole lot of Dick Van Dyke spoiled. There was a little, somewhat of a spoiler revealed that forced. I am of the opinion that forced the news outlets to prematurely say, "Hey, this is what's happening."
Oh, I didn't see anything about it other than you saying it was. I heard that they had posted a wrong episode or something, but I didn't hear any coverage of it.
Yeah. Because I don't know. Because I just thought it was a little coincidental that Soap Digest then had to say something. I'm like, this is interesting timing. But yes, we'll get into that later.
Surprise, surprise!
Yes, it was very surprising. The clips that you can probably find a bunch of clips and photos already on socials. But yes, you only have to wait till tomorrow to see it. So,
not people like seeing the mistake and then being like, "Guess what's gonna happen, y'all?"
I know, completely spoiled. Yeah.
yeah.
Also, like no judgment or shade, but who was up at 6 a.m. watching the episode of Days like immediately?
The person who wakes up at 5 a.m. for work.
You didn't want to start off with like cartoons or like something.
Do you know I watch cartoons all damn day? I need some adult content.
Oh.
Not like that. Well, maybe like that,
Surprise,
but no, not
surprise.
like that.
Oh gosh, we are.
Yeah.
It's now
Yeah,
time
can
to
we
start.
flip the hourglass already?
I was like, what? Did we start? Oh, I thought this week was. It was so meh that I was like, should we even be doing a show? But I guess there's still stuff to talk about, so we're gonna talk about it. It is now time to start. Dishin Days. Oh, that was close. Something. Now we said it. Oh my gosh. And forget it. All right. So let's kick things off with the first storyline. The other Philip is back.
No, read it again.
That's what the other Philip is back.
Other.
Read it again.
Oh, the other Philip is back.
Yes.
The other.
Yeah, because this is Philip technically the fourth, but the third one that stuck.
Philip the Fourth has arrived in Salem. Okay, so first of all, I want to say I feel like this is the longest secret that anyone in Salem has kept that I can remember.
I know, right? Yeah.
Because
almost 2 years, yeah.
I think so. And I had to give the writers kudos because it was left so open that I was like trying to remember, okay, what all happened when that happened, because it felt so long ago. But I was also kind of like,
yeah,
bravo for like having that way back when, and then now he's coming back and being like, Psych.
Yeah.
I'm live.
Well, and I'm glad that they like you said, I'm glad that they had Philip kind of recap everything that he did and what happened, because then it's like, oh right, yeah, and you know the basics we remember, that because they've talked about it in the time that he's been gone, that Philip's alive, he was wacky, and so they sent him to an institution, and
yeah.
He was so out of his mind with jealousy.
He went cuckoo.
Like, how does jealousy make you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
It's never made me cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
I know it hasn't, which is a good thing, because jealous of me for so long. I'm glad it hasn't.
I think it stems from a long time of low self-esteem.
We can take stock.
Oh God! Back to Philip.
Yeah.
I got a man. I got a this. I got a that.
Michael.
Oh, Lordy.
What was that? I lost my train of thought.
What did I?
You know,
Philip. What? Back to Philip.
Philip.
What'd he say?
Philip.
I missed it. Somebody's gonna tell me what he said.
Great.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So I thought it was really good that, like, yes, we are live, TMM. Clearly. I like the fact that they held this on for so long, and do you guys feel like, are we okay with the compassion that, like, Belle and Chloe are showing for Philip, or do you think he should pay for this big lie that
it was a
he
little,
did?
It was just a little quick on Chloe's part, especially. Just like, she was just like immediate forgiveness, whereas Brady took a minute for him, which I felt like was reasonable, because he was like the target of Philip's plan, right?
Yeah.
But he eventually, came around. I mean, I'm okay with it. I just felt like it was just a little quick.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I actually I feel like they should have cut Brady a little bit more slack. Like, I understand what they were doing. They didn't want him to, of course, run to the police and get that going, which I don't think he should, period, at all. But I felt like they could have been a little bit more understanding of his position while also trying to convince him. Like, I felt like they were just kind of like, see, he's sick. He was in a mental institution, all's forgiven, kind of a thing. And it was like let Brady process this a minute. And I think it really stung too when Brady first saw Philip, and his reaction was to hug him and be like, "Oh my God, you're alive, my uncle, whatever." But also remember, like you were saying, Michael, remembering all the facts that Brady actually did think Kristen took him back then. I mean, he kept that up, but he did think like she was behind that and that something awful happened to him. So I felt like they could have cut him a little bit more slack with everything that was going on. Like, Philip shows up, he's happy to see him, then he finds out he was framing him, and then it was like, you need to forgive him immediately. It was a little much.
I'm not sure what anybody else's reaction would have been, but I think that everybody's reaction right now is colored by what are you doing?
He was Brady punching Philip.
Oh gosh!
It wasn't a boom. It was a boom.
It was a like a real like gotcha, bitch, like that.
Yeah. Which ends up being like easier. You don't have to put like as much weight into it.
Probably hurts more though.
I wouldn't know.
It depends.
I wouldn't know either.
Your strength. Anyways, I think that everybody's reaction right now is colored by their grief. Is colored by their grief for Victor, whether they are mourning him personally or whether they are feeling sympathy, like the way Chloe and Belle are feeling sympathy for Shawn and Xander and Brady. for going through their grief. They're kind of walking through their grief with them. That I think everybody is just kind of tired. That they're just relieved someone's alive.
Nothing, Annette. Here's the thing. I just feel like so much time has passed since the incident happened, and everything ended up fine simply because Philip did what he did. Luckily, Kate and Victor intervened. They declared him dead so that Brady wouldn't go to jail.
No, they didn't declare him dead.
I was like, did they undo that? They did
Yeah,
it for,
they
or they
undid
wouldn't.
it.
They were going, either they were going to, or they didn't, or they did and they undid it so that Brady wouldn't go to jail. Because if he was declared dead, then Brady might have gotten busted for popping him.
The sentiment is still the same. Whatever they did helped Brady. Yeah.
Exactly. Whatever they did, because they knew that Philip was alive, but he was just not in his right mind. Yeah. They made sure, both were taken care of. That Philip went and got the help that he needed. That Brady didn't go to jail for something that he obviously didn't do. They undid the death declaration. Thank you, Annette. So it's it's one of those things where I feel like, and also, Chloe is going through stuff with like Xander and figuring out all that and coming off from like Brady and Belle is currently going through all this stuff with Shawn and all that. So I feel like the characters are currently going through so much to where they look at this situation like,
it's like, it's fine.
It's like we don't need anything else. You're alive. We get it. You're unwell. You got help. Hopefully you're good now. Like, let's just move on. Like, let's not add a mess on top of 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 a mess. You know what I mean? So, and I think initially, like Chloe was upset, but I think that she could sincerely see that one, he was going to take accountability. He was just like, I'm back. I couldn't stay away. Yeah. Whatever happens, all I think Philip was asking for, which I think is a little too soon to ask, is for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I'm going to quickly forgive you and then everything's under the rug. But like, I do appreciate the fact that he's taking accountability. He came back because he could have just stayed away. You know what I mean? But he came back. He's taking accountability. He's just kind of like, whatever happens, happens. He hopes that he doesn't, I'm assuming he's hoping that he doesn't have to go to jail. But it's kind of like this, like, there's already a lot going on. Are we going to add this?
Also, to something that like Brady, I don't think fully mentioned it, but it was it was brought up a week or a couple weeks ago, was that the judge was sort of using a little bit of the Philip stuff against Brady. And so I think that was forefront in his mind too, of like, not only did you set me up for this, but this also has now, because I don't think it's come up since it happened 2 years ago, but now in the stuff, the custody battle with Kristen, it sort of came up and the judge sort of used it against Brady. So I think he's also reeling from that of like, listen, like, this thing you did has now affected me 2 years later. It wasn't 2 years ago. I just lost my daughter because of it. So
2 years later, though, he loses his daughter. Like, that judge was bananas. Like,
we're not even gonna go there. I mean, in my mind, Philip gets like this much credit for that because
I mean, a lot of it Brady did to himself.
Yes, so much of it Brady did to himself. Like, he just did wrong at every turn. He did the wrong thing.
But okay, I have two things I noticed though. One, Philip has a creepy way of hiding. Where he was when he revealed himself to Belle. Like, how are you like in the corner with just a little bit of light? That's weird. And then, like, if you're gonna be put in a room and told to be quiet, like, don't move. Like, just sit on the floor. Like, what were you doing to make that much noise?
To break a lamp.
He was staying in the room, so he probably just didn't know the area. Walked into a lamp. It happens.
Walked into a lamp. Like you do.
Be
But
quiet and stand still.
I was actually really impressed with how Xander took the news.
Yeah.
Because he could have been all pissy about it. He could have been a real jerk, and he wasn't.
No.
And it seemed like I said, it seemed like Victor's death has just really sent shockwaves through that family, and whatever reaction might have been elevated, with the exception of Brady. I think they're all just like, I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy to be angry right now.
Yeah. Oh, I also noticed this. In 2023, with all the advances in technology that we have, if you go to someone's office and they're not there, why write a note?
I know.
Dramatic effect.
Oh, yeah.
And to admire his cursive.
And that he's left-handed.
Eric Martsolf does have very nice handwriting.
But like, you didn't like walk in and let me
text him,
Shawn. You know,
well, I'm guessing he thought Shawn wouldn't answer him because of their previous, I guess, fight or whatever. Like the day before.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what kind of fueled him to be like, I'm just gonna write him a note, that way he sees it and he can't ignore it, as opposed to
Yes, he can't ignore it. Take the note and throw it in the trash.
well, he has to read it first though. It's it's sort of like a trick way of getting his attention. Right.
Well,
I didn't think twice about it. I was like, oh, he left him a note. Okay.
I was like, who writes a note? Like, you didn't like. That's just how my mind works.
Yeah.
I was just like, you want to text him? Like, what is the purpose of the note? No one knows. No one knows. But I guess it's going to be interesting to see how. I mean, it looks like Brady is definitely leaning towards not pressing charges on Philip.
Yeah.
So that's great.
But I do think Brady is planning to use the fact like this to try to get Rachel back.
Oh yeah.
Right?
At this point,
I mean, he kind of alluded to that, but he could have just been trying to get, he could have just been in that scene with Kristen.
I'm not sure that's going to have the impact he thinks it is.
It probably won't, but now he's out to,
well, the second that he looked at Kristen and said, "Oh yeah," and that custody thing, I wouldn't get used to that. Yeah. They cut to Belle, and Belle's face was like,
it's like pitch.
Yeah. It's like, like it's almost like Belle wanted to say, "I have a husband,
exactly,
who's going through stuff.
Yeah,
I ain't got time for this.
I got my hands.
Yeah,
like share the custody, love her, bye."
Yeah.
But
Brady now thinks he has a way to win over Kristen. Win, not win over Kristen, but win against Kristen.
Yeah.
No, I think you said it right the first time.
Huh?
I think you said it right the first time.
And I mean, he may still, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at. If I think Brady and Kristen still like have the feels for each other or not.
No.
I don't think so.
Let me tell you two ships that have left the dock.
No.
Kristen and Brady, and Eric and Nicole. Gone.
Why do I think that maybe the only person, maybe the wild card here that could possibly have an impact on Brady getting Rachel back is our surprise guest from Friday, the end of Friday's episode.
Surprise, surprise.
Mr. Mrs. Donovan back in the building. Because let's remember that Kristen did Teresa dirty.
Oh yeah, the baby fever.
She carried Tate.
Yeah.
She stole Teresa's child and carried him and gave birth to him and intended to keep him from her forever. Did anybody even bother to call Teresa as like a key witness to this woman's insanity?
I feel like they keep using the what do you call it? Not immunity, the pardon she's gotten. So like
she was never charged for that. That's that, and I think that's the key difference is that she was never charged for what she did to Teresa. Remember, because she got thrown out of a window and then was presumed dead for a while. So nobody ever bothered to charge her for what she did to Teresa. I think that's really Brady's ace in the hole. Teresa hates Kristen.
Well, that ace in the hole should have been used a long time ago.
I know. Yeah.
I know.
She's just been sitting in California, just being like, I'm going to put this in my pocket.
Well, we've already established that Brady is dumb. So.
By John Del Rey.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, John Del
We've all
Rey.
said it a couple times too, but yeah.
Yes. Yes. We've established that just already.
Well, and you know what? Maybe it's not that he's dumb. He's just too reactionary. Like, just take a minute.
That's true.
Think your shit through.
Yes.
Excuse me. Sorry. Didn't mean to be uncouth.
Yeah. He doesn't know how to strategize. He is No, you're right. He is reactionary. He just does. He spews things out of his mouth, and he does things. He does stupid things, and the problem is it's just been getting worse, not better.
Yeah.
He used to be the rational parent.
Now there's no rational parent in that situation.
No rational parent.
They're both just off the rails. So
yes.
Good luck, Rachel.
Good luck, Rachel.
Hope you're able to find a fine therapist.
Therapist? Are you kidding me? That kid
Marlene is busy.
Are you kidding me? I'm not sure what can help that girl at this point. I think she's running circles around all the adults.
Kind of true. You're not wrong.
She is. And to that end, can we bring up Rachel in the next plot line, please? Because she might have been the most entertaining part.
With her 20 questions?
Uh-huh.
Girl. Well, speaking of, it looks like we're done with the other Philip is back. And we'll move on to Gwen totally knows Dimitri is raggedy. This storyline had a lot to unpack because you have Gabby and Stefan who are on the case trying to figure out what Dimitri is hiding. You have Kristen who is all up in the business about Dimitri's first installment. You have Gwen who is the blushing bride who has not a clue, or does she?
Yeah.
Oh, she has a clue. And she like her actions this week otherwise too, the way she was just like pissed off at the drop of a hat. I'm like, yeah, something's going on with her.
And then you have love-struck Leo who feels like he's doing his best friend dirty, yet this is the love of his life. And then you have, I don't know what he's called, but I figured that was going to be the twist.
I did too. Yeah.
Because the moment that he was talking to his significant other, I was like, he's gay and he's going to understand this. But also, okay, I don't even know where to start. Since we're there, we'll start here. I feel like I have a lot of questions about this storyline.
In what way?
One, like I understand that Dimitri is, one of the girls, but it's like, why in the beginning didn't he just tell Gwen to like go along with this and cut her a piece?
Make her part of it? Make her like cut her in like he's doing
he's doing Leo.
Everybody else. Yeah.
And so that seems odd.
Well, I think I can answer the question. One, Michael Myers just pointed out the money. He's now cutting in everybody, and that the
$20 million, which is the first installment.
Rich people are cheap as hell. Rich people are so freaking cheap. Like they don't want to tip, they don't want to do nothing. Secondly, remember, if you remember back when this plot was first hatched, Mommy was still a part of the equation running the show. It wasn't Dimitri's grand plan in the beginning. It was Megan.
True.
She was running the show. She would never have allowed Gwen to be in the loop.
But then once Megan, like he could have once Megan, dip down literally. He could have like changed course and been like, listen, Gwen, this is what's happening and whatever. But it makes for better storyline if she's kept in the dark, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's yeah.
But then also, when Leo came up with the grand scheme of getting in drag to play Gwen, I had a billion questions.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And my first question was, what is his makeup going to look like? Because, I mean, you can do yourself up to give like realness, right? But I'm like, okay, like, will he emerge and it's going to be Jackie Cox instead of him? And like, she's like giving us like realness, but acting like Leo.
Yeah.
Like, I was literally like, what is about to happen? And then when he walked in, I was like,
no. Part of me thought maybe he was gonna like have something covering his face, like if they were gonna go with a mask or if they were gonna go with something to like, obscure his face a little bit to say like, oh, he cut himself or like COVID or something like that to like help with that. But yeah, I'm with you, Tony. I was like, okay, it's gonna be Leo, so like, I don't know. I think I was just expecting something interesting to happen or something more. But yeah,
I was expecting something more grand, but then I was also not mad because I was like, well, at least you picked a good color wig and length and style to make you look like something.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's what.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't. It was so far from Gwen that it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't like gel completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you know that the guy is gonna have seen a like he's just gonna come to Salem and never have seen a photo of Gwen. Didn't Google Gwen, whatever, wrist check, and see like a photo before he had the interview.
Yeah.
But he was family, so he gave them a break.
Yeah.
The accent was the accent was in and out the whole time.
Yeah. That was probably intentional. That was they had to make it like Leo was gonna,
obviously
do it badly-ish.
Yeah. But what I thought was so beautiful and what sold him was the speech that Leo gave. Yeah. And I think it was heartfelt and it was sincere. And I still think it's the same feelings that he felt for Craig. Mm-hmm. But I really do think that he now truly does believe he's met like the love of his life, through his best friend. But I was like, oh, it was really heartfelt. But he was like, that was beautiful, but I'm not buying it. I said, oh, what gave it away? The Adam's apple, the not so much makeup, the wig.
You got yourself an Adam's apple.
Yeah.
When you came to
I'm
town,
sorry,
you got yourself an Adam's apple.
Like the cheekbones and the blush, it was just not working. I'm sorry.
Leo had a Tisha makeup on.
Mm-hmm. He had that no makeup look.
Yeah.
Yes. But I like the fact that what's his name?
Elliot, right?
Elliot.
Roth, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that this is one of those lessons that Days sneaks in. Mm-hmm. It's not going to get to the right people because they probably fast forward through it. Mm-hmm. But I like the fact that he pointed out, like, I get it. I have a husband too. Yep. These things are so outdated. Yep. And he just, said you meet the requirements and kept it moving. And he mentioned, which is the most important thing, was, saying that he wishes that they get to a point where people didn't have to hide. And I was like, this is so that people can kind of understand what it's like to be gay and in love and still in 2023 have to hide that. And it's also, this thing where even the Days fan base who consistently say, why are they shoving this down our throat? Why are they always shoving gay down our throat? And da-da-da-da. Like, if you watch this, it's not shoving it down your throat. It's actually, adding gay characters to this, scope.
It's called inclusivity, making a realistic
situations in a fictional setting.
Exactly. Okay.
It's acknowledging that gay people have always been here. They're always going to be here, and they're just not going to hide anymore. Craig was here the whole time. He just wasn't out of the closet, but he was here.
Right. But and there's nothing, gross or disgusting about it. They're doing the same things that many of the other beloved characters have done: brainwashed, cheat, pregnancy switches, dressing up, like all that kind of stuff. But I just really wish in that moment the people who needed to hear that heard it. And I'm just scared that they didn't, because the second they saw Leo in drag, they were like, nope. And like,
if they had even gotten that far, if they hadn't fast forwarded through it
already.
Yeah.
I still don't get that concept of fast forwarding through storylines, because sometimes they're so intertwined. And so when some people start talking about stuff and they're like, well, what happened with this? I want to go, did you fast forward through it? Because you probably missed something, because it was attached to another storyline that you decided that you didn't want to watch.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will step down my soapbox now. But although the storyline is, sometimes I go,
need something. I feel like we're getting the twist of Gwen coming, and that's what it is.
I mean, things are escalating on the Gwen side. The way she, there was a moment again this week where she had a look on her face where I was like, oh, I don't know if she knows the entirety of what's going on, but I feel like she at least knows that he's cheating, or not on the what she knows, the scope of what she knows, but she definitely knows something. The way she was looking at him when he was texting, and then the fact that she dropped something and got enraged about it, and then the way she reacted to finding Gabby, and I'm like, oh, she knows, and she's pressed about it, and then So I'm looking forward to her, if she does know. Well, looking forward to finding out what she knows, and then how she's gonna settle things. Yeah,
because at this point, Rachel knows the most.
God.
Although Gabby and Stefan have figured it out.
Yeah, they figured it out, and I'm actually proud of them how quickly they got there.
Yeah, I was like, Rachel, girl, you're better than this. You should have sussed out Stefan very quickly.
Well, it's it's her age. Yeah. But the fact that just that whole conversation with Stefan had me cracking up, because when she said, that's not a yes or no question, I was like, what game show are we on right now? Give her a few years and she's going to be a holy terror.
Well, duh, we already see that.
Yeah, we already see that coming, but right now she still has the benefit of her young age, but just it's like, oh my God, I can see it coming a mile away. Don't ever teach this girl poker. Never. Noted. She'll clean people out.
Noted on Rachel and poker. I feel like the second that Elliot was like, keep your relationship under wraps, I was like, child, too many people already know, because Dimitri is sloppy.
They're all sloppy. It's don't bother. Don't try to be a liar if you're not a good liar. Or maybe just don't lie. Yeah, maybe that should be the lesson here.
Stop trying to use Gwen's 10 minutes away out of the room as a quickie.
I know. Calm down.
We keep talking. We keep saying that Dimitri has a magic
MP.
Sounds like Leo has some magical.
Totally.
Well, and maybe that was the moment. Maybe that moment, because there was a conversation with Gwen and Leo where he was talking about his new boyfriend, and he was like, didn't he say he said he said his initials are MP.
Yes.
And it was like, it's
Matthew
Matthew Perry. And it was supposed to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's when she got clued in, because they had talked about Dimitri
Yeah.
having a magic penis before. So maybe that was the moment where she was like, oh. And now she's just been playing like the long game.
I need to know. I just need to know what she knows and when she knew it. And
I can't wait to see the wrath of Gwen.
Let's wrap this up, please.
Or maybe that's the twist, that there isn't a wrath, that maybe it's we're all in this together. Here's what I require for my participation. Because they made it
a
clear
wrath first.
Well, maybe towards Leo, I guess, maybe. Yeah,
I just want to see Emily O'Brien go off because she's good at it.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be. I don't know. I think the three of them together have great chemistry, and I'd like to see them continue the storyline, just not in configuration.
For me, the only way to wrap up this craziness is for Gwen, Dimitri, and Leo to be in a situation where seemingly Dimitri and Leo are caught, and she looks at both of them and go, gotcha. And then just explain how she knew, when she found out, when she figured it out, and how maybe she was just hoping that one of them would have the guts and the balls to say what this really was, because and then I almost don't even want her to be upset. I want her to be like, Maddie, I love you so much that I would want to see you happy. And if this makes you happy, I would have happily went along with it. Pull a little feet.
Yeah.
But what you guys, what you guys did was just dumb.
Yeah.
And then it's just from there.
Yeah.
But that reaction would be boring.
What
she needed. It's like, I want her to I want her. She has been lied to and betrayed. I want her to have her moment of and then maybe afterwards be like, now listen, now that I have that out of my system, let's work together. But
I just want a resolution, any kind.
But it could be that, but the sort of, I don't know, I think the big thing what you're talking about, that could be focused on other people too. It could be us three are in this together. We're not messing up our money, but here's what we need to do. Whether that rage or whatever is geared towards Stefan and Gabby, because they seem like they want to expose them, or they're I don't know. There's their inclusion in this is still very weird. I don't know if they're going to come for some money, because at the end of the day, what do they care? It has nothing to do with them. It doesn't impact them in any way. Are they going to ask for some of the money?
It does. I think they're assuming it does, because remember, Megan tried to kill Stefan, and I think he thinks that Dimitri is still there doing her dirty work. That's the reason that he's sticking around. That's why they're going after Dimitri.
But I feel like they found out this episode that it's about Gwen and keeping a secret from her, that it's not really like a Demira family thing. It's really
it could be. I mean, they could. I'm just speculating in their warped logic, they could think that actually correctly, because that was Megan's plan, not Dimitri's, that they were going to use the Von Leuschner trust to get control of Demira. That could be, I think that's the train that they are going down, and they would be correct in that assumption. It's just not Dimitri's plan, it's Megan's.
Well, Dimitri's plans currently make no sense. It's a mess.
He doesn't have a plan.
He does. His plan is to stay married to Gwen, have his side piece Leo, and make sure the two shall never cross and meet, and no one shall find out. Yeah. Now, I didn't say it was a good plan. I didn't even say it was a well-developed plan. It was a plan.
Considering the two people he's stepping are best friends, that this was never gonna happen.
I mean, Terrence would have happily came in and been the side piece.
Who?
How dare you? Dare you, Michael Madden?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, well, now that we've run this into the ground, I think that's pretty much it with this storyline.
Mm-hmm.
On to Mayor Paulina making the moves.
I love this for her. I really do.
Do you think she's making good moves?
I
think so.
I think it makes sense.
So far it's nothing major. It's basically like altering a policy so that someone who was unjustly fired could get their job back. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
So now that, because before she said she put in the paperwork for that for that rule to do away that like a superior can't date a subordinate.
Mm-hmm.
When Rafe wouldn't take the job because that rule was still in place and recommended Jada, it got me wondering, who do you think would make a better commissioner? Do you think that Paulina should reinstate Rafe, or do you think she should hire Jada?
I think Jada will have her time.
Yeah.
I think that Jada is just a little too new to the department. And Rafe's been the steady head of the ship, so to speak. And the fact that, Jada is just so kick-ass and so brilliant, I think her time will come. I think that she's on people's radars. I think it's just a tiny little bit too soon for her to be commissioner of the station.
Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would have probably put her above Shawn in some ways.
I think everybody. I think I think the background actor who filed the file could be above Shawn in this moment.
Well, Shawn has had his hiccups lately, but other than that, he's been a pretty solid cop in character. So, I mean, yeah. But I'm fine with Rafe. Yeah, Jada maybe a little too soon, or like, there's no reason not to have Rafe. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Mattis.
I'm okay with Rafe being reinstated.
What was he going to do otherwise?
I would not have been mad. I would not have been mad about Jada because she has a pretty stellar record. So I wouldn't have been mad about it, but it felt right to just have Rafe go back in.
Yeah.
So I was torn, like my good friend Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
Tony.
There was a part of me that was like, it makes sense for Rafe because he never should have been taken out of the position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then I thought, with everything that's happening or has happened, would it be nice just to start fresh and just have Jada take the position so that, it doesn't come with the muck of what just happened. Do you know what I mean?
But it would anyway, because the whole reason that Rafe was taken out of the position was because he was having a relationship with a colleague, and that said colleague taking the position, it's like you run into the same problem.
I get that now. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, if Rafe was like retiring, or if he actually like had an epiphany and said, you know what, I really don't want to go back to being a cop. I want to like join Black Patch or something like that. Yeah. I'd be fine with it. But I think
join Black Patch.
Yeah, but I think the idea, like, when Paulina was thinking about putting Jada in, it was still up in the air of Rafe coming back as just a detective, and then you'd have the same issue. But also feel like it would just be a retread of like Hope and Rafe, and I felt like that's what killed them. They had so much of this workplace, I'm jealous of him, or she got my job and I can't handle that, and it was like, I don't want to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, with keeping them as a couple, give it to Rafe, and
Mm-hmm.
leave Jada as like the star detective who actually seems to be solving crimes. And
I do love that. I love that Steve is kind of guiding Abe through this memory loss process, and also sharing, like, what he went through.
I'm so glad they brought that up.
Right. His whole history with Kayla, and how he was presumed dead, and how he came back and he didn't have a memory.
Yeah. And just because we didn't see, he wasn't on screen at the time, we have to remember that Steve's amnesia was like, what, 30 years
ago, or of 30 years?
Of 30 years. How long was?
No, I don't think it was that long.
It was at least 20.
Well, he couldn't remember nothing.
Yeah, it was at least 20 years. Yeah, it was at least 20 years that he had amnesia. So, like, Abe, a couple of months, he can, take a chill pill.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I like the first date idea of Abe and Paulina going out on a date. Too bad they didn't show it.
No, I know, right?
And unfortunately, apparently, allegedly, it didn't go well, because Paulina brought up the time where she first came to Salem and was going to take down Horton Town Square and put up Price Town. And as Abe was talking, I thought to myself, you know what? I feel like he is now going through the feelings and sorting them out all over again.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. It's funny when we mentioned Price Town, was like, oh god, they haven't even gotten to the Lonnie stuff. Don't tell me that's going to be a hiccup. Like, they haven't even gotten to that track, which is probably way worse than Price Town, which never got off the ground. But yeah.
Oh yeah, because I am sick of people lying to me. I was like, it hasn't been Paulina that's been lying to you, but I get the feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just hope that
Yeah, I don't know where this story. I mean, was this all just a weird, like, and then, like, Rawlings may or may not be gone, because I thought we were setting up to, like, I'm assuming, I just thought he was coming back. I don't know. I don't read spoilers, whatever. I thought that would be the fight, like Paulina and Rawlings, or Abe and Rawlings, and now Abe is sort of not involved, and then Paulina is the mayor. Is like, was all this just to get Paulina as the mayor? Like, is that,
yeah, I feel like it's just the last couple of weeks have been a little all over the map, because, like I said, this month is mostly dedicated to Victor Kiriakis, and in his death and getting the family back. On the canvas. So I think that all other storylines are just kind of a little all over the place at the moment.
Or are they all over the place because, wait, what month is this?
August.
Oh no, not yet. Never mind.
No, we're just in September. Yeah, not yet. No. I know. Yeah, I know where you're going. Not yet. Yeah, not yet. But
I always like to feel like this. We're taking on a journey. I'm just a fan with open arms. And there's all this weeble wobble, but we won't fall down yet. But these are just seeds that are being planted, and then it'll all make sense. Like the Philip situation, that 2 years later, it's like,
I just think we need more than just him and Steve talking again. It's nice to see them two together and to have that, but not another. We're on the 6th or 8th conversation that they're having again.
Or more flashcards with Kayla.
I actually really like those flashcards. I want him to, like, pull them out and be like, oh, so Gabby, I got
by the way, who's this?
Right.
Or maybe
bitch.
Or maybe they cut to, instead of him watching an episode of Body and Soul, they're like, what are you doing? Oh, just studying my flashcards.
Right.
I do. It does tickle me that they're still mentioning Body and Soul, and that they're like, oh, what? This is that blah blah blah, de la blah. Her son just came back from the dead, or her son just came back from. And I was like, because that's like what's happening with Kate and Philip. I was like, oh.
Does it tickle you? Does that one tickle you, Michael Mattis? Because if they mention 227, I think you're going to fall out.
Because they're not talking. Because they're not talking about real life shit. Excuse me. Sorry.
Michael Maddox.
I did,
Don't
a
be
friend of mine,
uncouth.
because I shared that. I shared that little comment we got about my cussing with some friends of mine, and they suggested I get a swear jar and put money in it, and then I'm like, and then what? Take the money back? And they were like, oh yeah, because you're virtual. I'm like, yeah, like, and I was like, it won't work.
I mean, that thing will be filled by the end of the month.
The end of the show, yeah, because apparently I do it every 5 minutes.
Be
Anyway.
couth. Don't be
Ladies
all
and
uncouth.
gentlemen, this is
be
not a
all
kids
uncouth.
show. Get over it.
Although it's not a kids show, we do have to be mindful.
I am mindful in certain respects.
Because at
But-
one point in time, our rule about cussing, and this was back in AfterBuzz.
That was an AfterBuzz rule. We're not under AfterBuzz rule.
No, but the rule that we had for the show was that we wouldn't use anything that wasn't used on the show.
Oh, that's a good one.
No, I don't remember that rule.
That was probably a little before you.
Well, Days is on Peacock now, so there are different rules
This is true.
for everyone.
It's fine. It's fine.
We'll be couth and not uncouth. I just wanted, for some reason, I thought somebody was just gonna like cuss at that moment and be like, "Well,"
That's why I thought you were going, Michael.
Oh, was I supposed?
First
Did I miss an opportunity?
Would have been my response.
Did I miss an
You
opportunity?
can tell them
Whoops.
to beep,
Yeah.
beep, beep. Yeah.
If it helps when I'm really, really trying to be mindful of my swearing, I think of Full House. I think of like every
nuts.
other. Yes,
Oh,
nuts.
gosh
Or
darn
like
it.
the Greek episode, ahoo.
Ahoo.
Little sticks.
Oh my god. Never mind. That's a whole another thing. Sidebar, I didn't know that Mary Kate and Ashley were twins. I'm just gonna say that.
Honey,
Wait,
honey,
wait.
it was on the screen. Mary
I thought-
Kate, Ashley. Oh,
I thought
Oh, you
I
mean
never
growing up? Got it.
I never paid attention. I literally thought,
It was one name.
That was
That's
a
not
long
that-
name.
Yeah, yeah.
and I remember when that episode, because I think there were like a couple of episodes we had on tape, and that was one of them. And so I knew a lot of the episodes back to back, and I always thought like, how did they get them? I was like, they must have filmed like,
Yeah.
the same person. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I didn't know. I was a kid. I didn't.
It's not that silly for a kid.
Yeah.
I thought you
I
meant
thought
like
so.
I just
Okay.
found out like 2 years ago.
I was,
No.
Yeah, I was like, they
That's what I was
did
thinking.
have a very long career after that, where they were very visibly on
No.
screen together.
For the longest time, I didn't know, and then I finally saw the Mary Kay and Ashley Olsen like videos, and I was like, oh, there's two of them.
Yeah, as a kid, you're not gonna.
Yeah. You
Just
do know their little sister is Wanda, right?
Oh God, where are we? Moving on.
I am the cute one. She's just my sister. All right, so we are moving on from our top storylines and onto our tidbits. But before we do, just some quick reminders. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure you find us on your favorite podcast station. Also, check out our merch at dishindays.threatless.com. And show some love to JLJ Media on the YouTube. All right, into some tidbits really quick. We'll start with Braxton Hicks, who?
Do we have to? Like, do we? Haven't we said it all?
I mean,
mean,
there wasn't a lot to unpack from these people this week, right?
He's stupid. He's desperate. The other one is none the wiser. Then that's it.
Here's how we wrap this up in a bow, and we'll move on. Sarah's a hypocrite.
Mhm.
She's mad. She's mad that things were done to her, but yet when she's doing them, it's okay.
Mhm. Justified, yeah.
Yep. I don't get the whole thing of like, this is just giving permission to Rex to like live out his fantasy
Mhm.
and be with someone and do all these things. And I honestly think Xander has
Delusional.
normally when people do that, it's more covered. It's like, yeah. Although I did hiccup at the same time. I think Xander has not sorted out his feelings about Gwen or Sarah. And so now it makes me kind of go, don't rush into Chloe. And yeah, that's it. Anyone else have anything?
I'm just like,
No.
also, another thing I realized that this is actually not exactly, but this is sort of Sarah's paternity story herself, and like the fact that Maggie's being a hypocrite herself, but like this would have been one of the things of like, girl, this is your life. Like, I didn't know who we didn't know who your father was, and remember we thought it was Mickey, and your father was Neil, and then remember how crazy you got when you found out your father wasn't Mickey, and like this is literally her childhood here. And
Patterns repeat.
There's no like recognition of it. There's no like, I don't know.
Oh, there's no recognition of it, like
for Sarah to be like, oh shit,
or like Maggie hasn't even brought it up or
yeah,
anything. Yeah.
Like she herself should realize it. Like I'm kind of doing, or actually, in Maggie's defense, that wasn't a calculated decision. She's making a calculated decision to deceive someone. Like, this is worse. Yeah.
I want Kate to blow this whole thing wide open.
Oh, I think she's.
I want Kate to do it because I'm just so done, and somebody needs to be ripped to shreds, and I would gladly have Kate be the one to do it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Don't call him DVD.
Mm-mm.
Oh God, here we go. Settling in for.
It wasn't the DVD show. No, it wasn't.
Did you all get at the end of Friday's episode a prompt to watch the Dick Van Dyke Show on Peacock?
No. Oh no, I didn't get it.
I did. Okay, so at the end of Fridays, you know how at the end of the episodes, it's usually like watch the next episode of Days.
Yeah.
So I was, watching Fridays, and the credits came on, and then it was like, oh, watch season 1, episode 1 of the Dick Van Dyke Show. And I was like, is this how this shit came about? Because Peacock acquired the Dick Van Dyke Show, and they're like, hey, let's put you on one of our
it was Drake
allegedly heavily watched shows, and then because I would have just streamed right into it.
Yeah, I think they already had the rights.
I didn't see any numbers.
It's just good promotion.
But no, it was just something fun. I was like, oh, maybe that's how this all came about. It was like a network synergy thing.
It was actually Drake who did it, but
oh,
yeah.
I don't read the article, so I don't know.
Yeah, Drake, isn't it? Yeah, that Drake and Dick go to the same gym.
Yeah,
and their buddies. He said, "Hey, you want to come do the show?" Like, cool. I'm not doing anything.
Is that how?
I don't know, but that's the cliff.
He went up to her and was like, "Yo, DVD, come do my show," and DVD was like, "I don't know who you are."
I do
and
think
DH was like, "Hey, my network runs your show," and DVD was like, "Oh, okay."
I love everyone's interpretations of how this conversation went. Justin, do you want to take a stab at it?
Let's just move on. Yeah.
No, by all means.
It's like, no, I'm done.
How do you?
Drake and Dick go to the same gym. They're friends with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the conversation go?
Dick Van Dyke said to Drake, "Hey, kind of maybe joking around, do you have people my age on your show, like older people?" Dick Van Dyke is almost 100. Drake said, kind of, and then he went back to the producers and said, "My friend is Dick Van Dyke. He would like to be on the show." Mm-hmm. And the producer said, "Dick Van Dyke would like to be on our show. Of course, we're going to write the storyline for him." Yeah. Mm-hmm. And here you have it.
My version had Eileen Davidson.
just randomly,
right? Because isn't she related to Dick Van Dyke through the?
No, that's the Van Patten. Cody. I was like, wait, where are you going with it? I was like,
Van Patten.
Yeah.
I was like, because we do. Well, no, but I thought he was making a joke that they just randomly bring Eileen back.
That's the joke I thought you were making. Like, yeah.
But no,
unfortunately, it wasn't a joke. For 2 seconds, I was just like, I just kept thinking to myself, oh yeah, like Eileen Davidson is related to Dick Van Dyke. So like they kept bringing her back for being on Salem, and maybe there was a conversation and she was like, well, I'll check with Dick. And then
Tony, I can't. He's like, it's one of those Van families. They all look alike to me.
Those Van families.
Wrong.
No.
Well, you know what? I like the fact that we each had versions of how Dick Van Dyke, DVD if you're nasty, got on the show. But now to actually talk about his appearance,
Yes, please.
I actually, oh, sorry, I kept saying, sorry, Odessa. I think that this character brings so much joy and light to the show that's very different. Although, when he kept hitting on the officer and Jada,
Yeah.
I was like, somebody's complaining. Somebody is complaining. Someone is complaining. But it was just kind of like, but I'm
It
glad
appropriate.
he did, and I'm glad that there was a moment where he called. He was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't." You know, this efficient officer and this efficient, detective. But
And yes,
just,
that is his real life wife.
That was his
Yes.
wife, yeah.
Arlene, yeah. Mm-hmm.
but it was so fun. Like what's your name? Well, I was hoping you could tell me. Boom, 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 boom.
He's just, there's something about that generation where they just, that whole crew of stars who came up in the 40s and the 50s, they have a natural charm about them, and especially the ones who made it, the ones who didn't die early in their years, who made it, like Paul Newman and Julie Andrews, all those people that went on to live long lives. There's something about them that just, they ooze charm and love for life. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with all the stuff they lived through in their early years, that they just went on to love life afterwards. And you can tell that, like, they have this attitude, like, I'm just here to have a good time. I lived this long, I might as well.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he's always just had this carefree spirit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, him in particular.
But I'm very interested in kind of the uncovering of this character and
who his son is. That ends up being the question, right?
Yes.
Like, who his son is.
Oh goodness, can you imagine if it?
Yeah, they might do a retcon.
No, I think that's a misdirection. I don't think it's a retcon.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to lead to this. I don't think this is going to lead to this character having roots.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think it's going to be. I think it's just a guest star. They wrote this for him. It's not something, and then maybe he can pop in or whatever every now and then. But it's not going to be like, he's not going to be a relation to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just part of this temporary. Like, I don't think that's what I think anyway.
I don't think it's John, of course, but it could be someone else.
I mean, John's a Robichaux.
Yeah, so they're not gonna redo John again for 2 episodes.
Again and again and again.
Yeah, whatever it is, but I'm curious. Yeah, I feel like it'll link something. It'll link somehow, I think, to something bigger, maybe, but I don't think it's gonna cement him on the show as an important figure.
Yeah. Although if you got a preview of tomorrow's episode, you're just gonna be smiling.
When you see a preview at the end of the show.
Yes. Well, there's the preview, and then there was the preview that people who woke up at 5 a.m. on Monday got there and were like, oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The accidental preview.
Harris, yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, I feel like we started something where everyone is calling Dick Van Dyke DVD.
No. Dick.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. And I like that Kayla and Marlena were the first to kind of guide him and help him and stuff. Yeah. So that's good. We're one of the people. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. All right. We can only hold for 24 hours. I mean, I love the fact that after 24 hours, he's like, okay, I'm fine. Jada wants to be my partner. I can go back to work. It's like, I think you need a little bit more time than that.
Yeah.
He needs more time than that, but he needs to come to that realization himself. Like after all this, when he was like, I think I'm going to go back to work. When Belle said, oh, I don't think you should do that. I was like, oh, Belle, I get it, but you can't I feel like she should have known by now that the more she tries to force help, or like she's part of her is doing it for her. I don't want to say that because that's not what I think. But I cringed when she was like, "Oh no, I don't think that's a good idea." I was like, give him a minute to think it through. Maybe try to let him come to that realization himself first after all of this, because now you're just starting conflict again. Like if it gets to the point where he's like, maybe let him leave the hospital first, and then maybe touch on it later before.
Well, she did, she did agree with him. She did say, that she was gonna stand by his side and be there to support him and say, no, you're not going to work today.
That's your man.
Yeah. She's handled this, I think, as best she possibly can for just being, in general, at a loss for words of what to do and what to say.
But we can't ignore giving him his flowers, giving him kudos, Brandon Beamer for his performance.
He was good this week. He was very good.
The moment of him sitting at the desk and looking at the gun, I was like, and
it got heavy. Like
it did. But I think for the first time, because at first it was kind of like, girl, why are you stressing? Like you didn't cause any of this. But then I started seeing how he felt like he really was responsible for the chain of events that happened. If he hadn't reacted quickly and shot Bo wouldn't be in a coma. Victor wouldn't have gone on a plane to go to the secret location that Bo was, that tragically, killed him. So while it's one of those moments where it's like, while you don't want to put the blame on yourself, or you want, you suddenly see that like it's your fault. So like, you're dealing with all this grief now, and grief can be very hard, and it can be, very taxing. And so for me this week, for the first time, I saw, wow, it's not just him just trying to escape with alcohol. Like he is really going through it.
Yeah. And it's not that he's suicidal necessarily. It's that he just wants the pain to stop. He just wants to stop feeling this grief. He wants something to make it better. And there's just nothing that's going to do that.
Yeah. Big kudos to Brandon and Martha this week and those scenes. They were great. Honestly, this storyline to me is still the most like disjointed. I feel like the elements are there and like what they're saying makes sense, but it's not like connecting for me. And I think they're constant. I don't know if they've decided what they want to do with this character, because first it's grief, then he sort of feels bad and gets into alcohol. And I will say this, I'm glad that they made the distinction that he isn't an alcoholic, that he's abusing alcohol and not addicted to it. I feel like we know shows do that all the time. They start showing a person have one more than a drink, and it's like there's a difference between someone who's and someone who can abuse alcohol and use it to deal with pain of a different issue. And so I'm glad that they sort of clarified that. But with him, I don't know. It's like it's missing something. I don't know if it's missing a scene with Maggie. I don't know if there's something that's not connecting for me with this storyline. It's like he's depressed, and then he goes and gets help. Then he's fine for a second, but not really. And then he very easily didn't fight Paulina about stepping down because he knew he was going through some stuff. Then he goes and gets help. And then the next day he pretends like he doesn't really kind of need the help, and he wasn't just on a 24-hour hold. Like, I don't know. It's something weird's going on.
I feel like he thinks that's all he needed was that 24-hour hold. And I also feel like he knew that he shouldn't have been commissioner in the first place.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? So I think there's just a lot that's happening. And so we'll see how this really affects. And also shout out to Martha Madison, who gave another stellar performance. And I'm just going to say it. This is the reason why you keep people and why you don't get rid of people. Because Shawn and Belle could have had some great storylines, front burner storylines. and now we'll see what happens.
Well, so yeah, maybe there's some course correction coming. Like we're coming out of the fire, so to speak. So maybe there'll be some adjustments made. So
through the fire,
to the limit, to the wall.
Oh, okay. Come on, Michael Maddox. All right. Well, by the way, did you hear about Victor?
Dead. I felt like that's the way that it was this week. It was like all of a sudden, it's like, oh, by the way, Victor died. Still dead.
I don't. Well, welcome back, Sunny.
Yes.
Sunny, came in and had that interaction with Leo. Oh gosh. Or I don't understand why everyone just. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. but the Stephanie, Chad, Alex, that wears me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm still unsure. Like, what was that scene all about? Like, ultimately, it was he's asking for help, so we're building that they're gonna get like I don't. It was just like it could have left it out, and nothing would.
What I took away from that scene was that now it was a growing friendship between Alex. Like instead of now being adversaries, they're trying to establish their friendship a little more versus frenemies. But that's what I took away from it, because honestly I couldn't really I didn't know, like I was kind of like, what's the point of this?
Chad
but
is being
I was like, oh, it's to kind of soften that tension between Alex and Chad. Why they want to soften that tension remains to be seen, or why they would
maybe
want
so
to,
that we don't have to watch this stupid triangle forever and ever and ever.
The gentleman's agreement.
Oh god, you can tell that Chad is forcing himself to be okay with this. Chad is forcing himself to be okay with this. He is not okay with this. He knows that Alex is up to something, but because Stephanie's like, don't control my life, then Chad's like, well, hey Ben, oh, we're just having breakfast. Yeah, buddy. It's like, no, go back to your house.
Yeah.
Well.
Anyway, anyone else have any thoughts? Great. Yeah. All right. Well, that was our week of days, and it's now time for our favorite parts of the show, which are our segments. And we're going to start with mine, which is Tony's official 3 Snaps Award. Oh, snap! Now listen, when a gal has to do what a gal has to do in order to help her man, that's just what someone has to do. So for Leo getting up in the gig, honey, to play Gwen, to ensure that Dimitri doesn't uncover what is going down with the money and everything like that to Gwen, for that, Greg Rickard, Leo Stark, you get Tony's official 3 Snaps Award.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap. I would also additionally like to give 3 Snaps Award to Leo's wig.
It's a good one.
I mean, do you see how this hair is laid? She is given like Farrah Fawcett kind of like lengthier.
Very feathered very nicely.
Yes.
Very feathered.
The word feathered.
Yep.
Yeah. Little slight bang. Like, yeah. Like, I mean, it's believable.
Yeah.
It's believable.
Although I'm gonna take half a snap back because there were no nails.
Yeah.
Time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not even painted, just no nails. I'm like,
yeah.
Dude looks like a lady.
A little bit.
And now it's time for Caption That.
All right, this week's Caption That goes to it's courtesy of Stephen and Rachel talking, and there were a lot of "hold my fingers" as the caption this week, but that was not it. This week's caption goes to Megan Bizarro on Instagram with her caption, "If you call me Jake one more time."
Our-
Thought that was the cutest one.
Mhm.
That's funny. And this has been
Caption that.
Dylan Matthews, not this wig, is from the Christian Alfonso collection, who does not wear wigs. I think he's saying
No.
that the style of it.
Yeah, the style.
is
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
giving
it looked
very
like Christian Alfonso's hair. Yeah.
Yes. I had to quickly say that before somebody. And now it's time for
Those were the days.
Take you back to September 1st, 2003, where we had the introduction of Miss Bonnie Lockhart, who is one of my favorites. I know people love Adrian, but I don't know. I prefer Bonnie, and Judy Evans prefers Bonnie. But I just think this was one of the best moves they ever did, getting Judy to come on and play this character.
Mhm.
And I remember watching and her popping up, and then it was like, oh, Adrian, and then the scene playing out, and you realize she looks different, slightly different. She's talking different. Oh, she's actually playing Mimi's mother, Bonnie, and just the addition of this character. And also back then, it was sort of, I think Farsight, they didn't know what they were going to do with Adrian. So this was before they linked them together. This was when Bonnie was her own character. She didn't look like anybody. They didn't reference that she looked like anybody.
Yeah, and like Justin wasn't on or anything.
Yeah, it was just Judy Evans playing this whole new character that she completely made her own. And yeah, just kudos to her, because I know people love Adrian and she's beloved and want her back in some ways, but I'm totally fine with Judy Evans as Bonnie Lockhart for the duration. So yeah, September 1st.
These were also the days where bronzer and self tanner was apparently popular.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was
Those were the days. Those were the days.
And now it's time for
It's a gift.
And this week's It's a Gift goes to my favorite Mr. Dick Van Dyke himself,
DVD.
which I can only describe as the point where your infancy starts to catch up with you.
He watched a clip of the Stephanie and Chad storyline.
Yeah, that works too. Yes. So if you ever just need a disgusted face, this is it.
I feel like from now on, when we don't like something, we're just gonna. And that was
It's a gift.
And now it's time for a little bit of
News and gossip.
Starting off, we have finally got the official announcement. Day of Days this year, 2023, is happening. The all-day fan event is going to be happening Saturday, October 21st. Doors open at 10 a.m. It is free to the public. It is taking place in, actually, it's a new spot since last year. The Peacock Place at LA Live, downtown area of Los Angeles. It is open to the public, but I think they're asking people to RSVP just to handle registration and things like that, I'm guessing.
Probably just to gauge how many people are coming.
Exactly. Go to peacockdayofdays.com. So if you were thinking of planning a trip, I can tell you it's well worth it if you're a Days fan and don't get a chance to see a lot of these Days events. This will be the place where you will be able to see and possibly have some sort of interaction with your favorite Days star. And so, mark the date, get those plane tickets and hotels booked. And
y'all can fly here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible.
Michael Mattis is referring to a lovely question that we were posed with. Someone asked, if I live in this state, how do I get there? And I was a little perplexed because there are many ways that you can get from one state to another. You can fly. Not everyone likes to fly. Depending on where you are, you can maybe take the bus or you can drive. Yeah.
And just a little, we're going to talk about this, Araceli will, in a second, but this is a really great spot, like we said, for those of you who always saying like, I wish they'd come to my city, or I wish, again, that's maybe a couple of people sometimes, or a couple of the cast members that come.
It's everybody.
This is everyone here.
Everyone.
And you can actually we'll talk about it in a second, but you can actually probably make a weekend out of this. And there are different things going on around the city. And yeah, so this is probably the one to come to get more bang for your buck, so to speak.
Yes, because the travel, yes, is on your own, but the event itself is free.
No.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever? You can take that off now, Michael Mattis. Did you guys ever go to Day of Days before joining Dishin Days?
Every year since 2008 or whatever. I think I missed 2010, but every other year, yeah.
That's right, because Michael Mattis.
I always look forward to it.
Yeah.
Michael Mattis did a wonderful guide back when it was at Universal on how to basically navigate.
You
need to update that.
Revisit that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it's just because last year we had no idea what was happening. So it was new to us.
Araceli, you went to Day of Days?
I did not. I did not. I did, however, go to Comic-Con. Trust me. Trust me. Anybody complaining about cost?
Not the same.
Not the same thing.
Not the same. Michael Mattis, for those who haven't been, well, because I've been both as like, you know, as a fan standing in lines and all that before I started doing Dishin Days and did press. What are your thoughts about Day of Days for someone that may be watching now and has thought, I don't know if I should go. Is it worth it? What is it like? Like, what was it like for you?
Well, like I said, I always looked forward to it. And it was like, you know, it's always in November. And whenever I was outside and it was getting like the weather was cooling off, I was like, oh, it's almost Day of Days time. But it's good to go. And, you know, obviously, you know, most of the cast is there and you line up, see who you want, you get your autographs, you can get your like, you know, pictures and whatnot. But then it's also about like, you know, you're with your people, you know, you're with this community and you're like, you are waiting, you know, if you're doing the lines, you end up, you know, waiting a while, but inevitably you'll end up in conversation with somebody and start talking about, you know, the show or not even the show, like, you know, your dogs or whatever.
Yeah, you'll end up finding friends. Yes, convention, like whether it's like a comic book convention or a soap opera convention, if you go, it's worth it because you find your people. All these people that you just you're kind of communicating online and social media in the ether. You get to see these people in person, and maybe you'll start a conversation. Maybe you'll go to dinner and find things that you have in common. Through conventions have met so many wonderful people where I'm like, I felt so insecure in my teens and my early 20s, and then I get to these places and I'm like, I found my people. They were here the whole time. I just needed to go out and go find them.
Well, for fans who are like, have them come to our city. One, can't fly most of the cast to
like 40 people across the country.
Yes. But I will say that Day of Days is 100% worth it because this is probably the one time you can meet most of the cast in one setting.
Yep.
And you can meet a lot of the legendary cast like Deidre Hall, Drake Hogestyn. You know,
you were able Jack Hay was there. You were able to meet Jack Hay, a TV legend.
James Reynolds, like all of these people. Because here's the great thing: there are events, and we have talked about them. You know, Spectrum Celebrity events, Starstruck fan events, Star Image events out of Canada. They all have events that come to Canada, Orlando,
East Coast,
New Jersey, like and things like that. They do come to certain cities, but a lot of the stars of Days don't travel, you know, and do those. So Day of Days is that one time where you can really come in and meet so many of your favorite cast members. You can also meet a lot of the fans that maybe you've been interacting with, like Araceli said, you've been interacting with each other online and stuff like that. So, and if you've never been to LA before, it's a great time to
See LA.
see LA. I know that traveling right now is expensive and everything like that, but if you can treat yourself, I will say that Day of Days is one of the best opportunities to meet the cast. And then if you're still interested in meeting the cast, we'll go over some other ways to do that. But other places may be a short drive or maybe more cost efficient because it's a little bit closer to where you are. But just make sure you check it out. They always have a great roster of people that you can meet. I do believe this weekend in Montreal, Remington Hoffman and Paul
Yeah.
Telfer are in Montreal right
Oh
now.
yes.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
doing- yeah.
So like, there's lots of opportunities, everyone. So just start look and it's only on Saturday. It's all day Saturday. So you can literally make a weekend of it. You can fly in Friday, be here Saturday.
Mhm.
I would, if I were you, plan on a late flight or leaving on Monday because you don't want to miss the day players on Sunday, October 22nd.
Yes.
So just plan accordingly. It's all worth it. It is an amazing days weekend. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all I have to say. Sorry, Justin, if I messed up.
No,
some of
it's
the
leading
news
to
and
our
gossip.
next
Yeah.
thing, which is the day players. Their next, they just announced as soon as the Day of Days was announced, they announced that the following day, Sunday, October 22nd, will be their next concert in LA. So for anybody who goes to Day of Days, you will get a double bonus. You will get to see them perform. I think, are they performing at Day of Days like they did last?
We don't like there have been no details about
Okay.
Day of Days as of yet, but they
They do
are
have the show.
performing in Hollywood at the
Is
Bourbon
it the
Room,
Bourbon
which is
Room?
really
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's a great venue. It's in Hollywood. Parking might be atrocious, but it's a great spot.
Take
I
an
should
Uber.
not bother parking. Yeah,
So,
but it would last year was a lot of fun. There were a lot of the cast comes out to support, so you'll get to see them and mill around with them. It's a great time.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah. And if you really, really, really can't make the trip, there are 2 more opportunities to see the day players this year. They will be in Huntsville, Alabama on November 4th and Nashville, Tennessee, November 5th. So if you want to go see them, those are your other 2 opportunities there.
Yep.
Go see them handsome mans.
Next up,
Oh, other handsome mans.
Mhm.
there's a little behind the scenes sort of gossip, little trivia here with both of these guys, Eric Martsolf and Dan Furigal, about their screen tests for when they were sort of coming on days and screen testing to play or not play their eventual characters. First off, with Dan Furigal's, he screen tested with Allison Sweeney, of course, because he was auditioning for EJ, and just gives her like the most credit. I think we've even talked about this before when he originally came on. He screen tested with Allison. She was like a complete professional, made him feel like safe and comfortable and able to do his job and sort of score the role of EJ. So he lays a lot of that at Allison Sweeney's feet about helping him really get hired.
Mhm.
Now, contrast that with Soft's screen test. He actually went in, believe it or not, to play the new love interest for Allison Sweeney, and this was what would eventually become the Rafe character. It wasn't Rafe originally then, but it was a unnamed, undescribed love interest for Allison Sweeney. So he went in to do a screen test, did it with Allie, and it was the birthing scene for Sydney. So it was like a mock birthing scene. So Eric sort of in his iteration of the story, he basically was like trying to be very loving and hold Allison's hand and coach her through it and kiss her forehead and do all of those things that he thought a loving partner would do to someone who was giving birth. So I guess in Eric's words afterward, they came up to him and was like, "You're great. You two have zero chemistry, so we are casting you as her brother instead of her love interest." And so that is how Eric Martsolf became Brady, as opposed to a version of Rafe Hernandez. Yeah, so
Definitely worked out for the best.
yeah, it worked out. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Next
You
up,
have zero chemistry.
Yeah.
zero chemistry, and you can tell. Next up, we have a new interview up on the Days YouTube page with the one and only Dick Van Dyke. Eric Martsolf got to sit down with the very spry 97-year-old legend, where they got to talk about his friendship with Drake, how Drake, yes, is the one who helped him get on Today's for this little stint. And of course, his legendary roles in Mary Poppins and the Dick Van Dyke Show. The man's had a long career. Look it up on IMDb. But yeah, he's just a delight. Currently up on the Days YouTube page.
Next up, we have some casting news. First, Cassie DePaiva, who we just saw on Days a couple of weeks ago, came back as Eve for a little brief stint. She is reprising her iconic One Life to Live character, Blair Kramer. This time, actually, on General Hospital. She's coming on to do a brief stint. We're not sure how long, maybe extended, we'll see. But this is the first time she's brought the character from One Life to Live to General Hospital. I think it was back in 2009. No, sorry.
2012. Yeah. Right after.
2013.
Yeah, it was right after One Life to Live. AMC were absurdly canceled. But this is if there were ever a time to really seriously discuss reviving old soaps, this would be it, because I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there right now. That this is not the first, but the second major character from a canceled ABC soap that they have brought on. That is, and I know that some people have mixed reactions, like, well, why are they doing this if they're not going to bring the shows back? I'm like, well, create enough buzz so that we can bring some shows back, so that daytime as a whole gets the respect it deserves. And that's my spiel.
Right. Yes. So moving on, Rachel Melvin is coming back as Chelsea Brady. We love Rachel, and she hasn't been on since 2009, and just a welcome addition. I think this is going to be, unfortunately, a short stint, but it came about actually from her hearing of John Anson's passing, and she sort of reached out to the show through Martha Madison to sort of gauge if there would be any interest, just to sort of let them know I'm available if you ever want to bring me back, or if you're ever doing anything for John, I'd love to come back and honor him, because apparently they were they got along really great on set and worked together, as we saw. So yeah, I love that this all stemmed from just sort of putting it out there and having a conversation. I don't know why she wasn't on their radar beforehand, but
yes, let's I said it a lot.
Yeah. So let's see if we hopefully see more of Rachel Melvin as Chelsea in the near future. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Like we said, we've got some new changes at Days that we think will be very positive. So we'll see how those take effect in the next few months. So yeah.
And next up, we have next year, we have a Spectrum Celebrity event, the Daytime Pride 24, because we are going into 2024. It'll be in National Harbor, and we have from Young and the Restless, the lovely Cameron Grimes, very pregnant. If you're following Cameron Grimes right now, she won't be pregnant when you see her, but she will probably have a lot of baby pictures. And her partner on the show, Kate Fairbanks. And from Days, we have the wonderful Mike Manning and Colton Little. And, oh, who's that hosting?
Brad Everett Young.
Oh.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Some guy.
Yeah, seems like some guy.
Nikki Finn.
Like seems like he'll do a good
Call him
job.
Nikki Finn.
Yeah.
Nobody knows Nikki Finn.
Yeah,
He's both a daddy's hands.
Yeah, so next year, Saturday, March 23rd, 2024. Get your tickets now at SpectrumCelebrityEvents.com. Seems like it'll be a good time.
Yes, it will be. And
and next weekend we have a fan event with Samantha and Friends. It is the Invasion of the Minions. Next weekend, September 9th through 10th. As you can see, with Mike Manning, Eric Martov, Jody Villasusu, Carson Boatman, and Dan Firigo from Days. Yeah, so all information go to SamanthaandFriends.org. Yeah.
It's in Florida.
Yes.
It's in Florida, and it's this coming weekend. So
yes.
If you've been thinking about it, if you're not too far away, just do it. And it's
and it's a good cause. It's a good cause.
It's a very good cause. So shout out to Samantha and Friends.
And her mom. And her mom.
And her mom. Yes, Alice. All right. And that has been a very long
News and gossip.
And now it's time to take a sneak peek at what's coming up on this week's episodes of Blue Star.
A world without Victor Kiriakis just doesn't seem right.
Family returns for a final goodbye.
I'm gonna miss my dear Uncle Vic.
And an unexpected hello.
What the hell are you doing here, Vivian? I've come to bid adieu to the love of my life.
And Dick Van Dyke is back
I used to sing all the time.
for a little song and dance.
And you for me.
And a mystery solved.
You know who I am?
Days of Our Lives.
Interesting.
I feel like I'm just gonna be smiling and crying this whole week.
I have to say, when Rachel Melvin popped up, I honestly thought it was Melanie. And I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one. Apparently, lots of people thought she was Melanie because of the hair. I think it was the hair that threw us off.
the
Yeah.
hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so yes, going
Melvin.
a little back to the beginning of this conversation at the top of our show. This was the kind of spoiled return that I was referring to.
Louis
that-
Sorel?
No, not Louis Sorel. Louis Sorel. We knew Louis Sorel was coming back. That had already been announced way back. The Rachel Melvin's return had not been announced yet. No one knew that she was coming. I think it had been rumored because people it had already been established that Louise was coming back, that they were going to bring Teresa Donovan back, that Jen Lilly was coming back, but they did not say that Rachel was coming back. What happened was that blipped episode came up this past Monday, and somebody screenshot in the credits Rachel Melvin. I'm not even sure if she was in the episode, but she was in the credits. And then what happens is a couple of hours later, Soap Digest has to report that Rachel Melvin was indeed coming back. Coincidence?
I just think they were going to release it this week anyway. Because
Yeah, they were going to release it. Just I think
Just
it's
got
kind of
spoiled,
like
yeah.
it was a little bit early. Yes, but yes, it's gonna be. It looks like a good week, guys. It really does.
Before I say that, Rachel Melvin coming back was before the snafu.
It was.
Uh-huh.
Are you sure? I didn't see any announcement.
Yeah.
I saw rumors, but not an official announcement.
No, it was reported because that episode happened when?
Monday, 5 a.m.
This past Monday.
Yes.
Oh. Well, maybe. It just seems like it was before. Anyway.
I think it was, yeah. Well,
Tony. Well, yeah. I think you're. I know where you're thinking, Tony. But
Because I felt like I had seen it because it was John Paul that was released, and
yeah.
I think shortly after that they said Rachel Melvin.
No.
No,
Did
I
they
think
not?
it was No, I think it was speculated, but it wasn't confirmed.
I think a little birdie told Tony Moore that it was happening.
Yes, probably.
And that's why you think it was out there, Tony, because you knew.
I seem so confused.
Well, you knew about it. That's what I'm saying. But you knew about it not because it was reported in the press, but because you knew about it otherwise.
You might be right. I
I
think
think I have more
think this
receipts
came out.
than Tony Lawler.
I think this came out Tuesday.
And we
It
will
came
all
out
sleep better
Tuesday.
tonight knowing that.
Well, I'm glad you will.
Anyways, people are coming back. It's gonna be a good week. We're gonna have a good laugh, a good smile, a good cry.
I think so too. I think there's going to be a lot of surprises, and I love that everyone comes back to Salem in something sparkly and just like festive and everything. So it's going to be a good week. It's going to be a sad week. It's going to be a good week.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see Rachel Melvin back on the canvas because I feel like Chelsea's one of those characters that probably should have made it back.
Yeah.
At some point already.
Long time ago.
2009. That I didn't if you had asked me, I wouldn't have thought that long, but it was like, oh yeah, it has been that long.
Yeah, like even like in Beyond Salem, something.
Mhm.
All right. Well, per John Del Rey's request, we won't prolong this conversation.
Too
And
late.
We'll just
We
We'll
will
just-
talk how long we want to talk.
well.
Michael Mattis has something to take care of. So
That he-
Michael
that-
Mattis
that
is on
he-
time limit right
and
now.
he had to take care of 20 minutes ago. So, Michael Mattis, why don't you kick us off?
Oh.
Let us know where they can find you.
You can find me and my uncouthness on Instagram and Twitter at ML Mattis.
When I tell you we will hold on to a grudge, we are so petty. I'm the same way. Justin,
Find me on Instagram at Justin Lee Hareld.
Sally,
You will find me and my drinks and my cat on Instagram and Twitter at Tia323 Araceli.
you can find me on all social media platforms at Lounging with Tony, and you can find all of us on our social media platforms. We are Dishin Days Show on Facebook and Dishin Days on Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, and Threads. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another full conversation of Days of Our Lives. We'll see you back here next Sunday for another full dish of this week's coming episodes of Peacock's exclusive #1 award-winning hit soap opera, Days of Our Lives. Until then, have a wonderful week. Stay safe, stay cool, and we'll see you then. Gotta go because Michael Mattis is past due.
Bye.
Dam's about to break. Bye.
Bye.